Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to speak in favor of the bill. I've heard my colleagues speak in favor and against. And I heard my colleague, Senator Gustavo Rivera, indicated that he has the second highest of rent-regulated apartments, not only in New York City, but the state of New York. Well, I represent the 31st Senatorial District, which includes part of Marble Hill, Inwood, Washington Heights, West Harlem, Upper West Side, Midtown, and part of Chelsea area. 13 miles long. For my colleagues upstate, that may sound like a short little distance, and it is compared to some of you that go 40 miles in many, many counties, and it takes a couple of hours to drive your senatorial district. But in Manhattan, it's a very gerrymandered district, let me tell you that. It ranges from people that earn a lot of money to people that are very poor. And the most rent-regulated apartments in any assembly district is in the 72nd Assembly District, represented by Carmen De La Rosa. And then, obviously, Al Taylor, the 71st Assembly District. Inez Dickens in the 70th. Dick Godfrey's in the 75th. Linda Rosenthal in the 67th. And Danny O'Donnell in the 69th. These are all assembly districts that touch base on my senatorial district. And you may say, well, why are you mentioning them? Because we are all part of the same solution in the Assembly and Senate, and these individuals are advocating, like me, in order for us to pass these bills. And you heard Senator Myrie talk about 1919, when rent regulations were put in place. And one area that he mentioned, he said the Bronx, and then he mentioned Washington Heights. And quite frankly, I represent almost all of Washington Heights. And you heard my colleague talk about that they live in rent-stabilized apartments. Well, my entire life, I've lived in rental apartments. And I say to you that I wish that I owned, but I don't. And I live in a rent-stabilized apartment in Manhattan now. And the number one issue during the campaign was the affordability of housing. The number one issue that comes to our offices, and I say ours, the collectively of many of my colleagues, and especially in Assembly, and the senators that have the highest number of rent-regulated apartments, is housing. Over 70% of all of the constituents that came into Al Taylor's office, and I mention him because when he came to interview for an endorsement of our Democratic Club, he had the number of people that came into his office for services. And over 70% of those individuals that came into his office was for housing. This is a bread and butter issue in New York City. And I am so proud to be a part of this body today that's going to vote in favor of it, understanding that that's what I was elected to do. And I can now go back home and say to my residents, thank you for sending me to Albany. Thank you for continuing to fight for your survival. And thank you to everyone, obviously Andrew Stewart Cousins, our majority leader, to Brian Kavanaugh, who shepherded this through as the chair of the Housing Committee, along with Zelnor Myrie. And thank you to all of those that put the energy and time and effort and resources to bring us here today. Mr. President, I respectfully vote aye. Thank you.